So we've talked about Flash, and so we have a nice little way of showing a happy little message when something works, but Flash is much more useful for showing a mean little message when something doesn't work. So we're going to first talk about how to make, well, basically how to break your app in lots of ways. And when I say that, I mean like how to prevent users from saving data. For instance, right now if I go in here and I just don't fill anything out and create an artist, there is no problem. I get blank was created. And that's kind of lame. We wouldn't actually want anyone to be able to submit a blank artist. We need a way to prevent that from happening. So it would be nice if we could say like, if someone submits a form where the name field is blank, then don't save it, but if there is something in the name field, then do save it. We could totally do that in the controller right here. How might we do that? What would that look like? Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to go into it just because it's something you would never do. Or at least I'm not going to ask you guys about it. You could do something like if params name equals blank, then redirect to, I don't know, and then notice you need a name, poopy head, else, do all this stuff. Yeah, you could do that, but that's a little crunchy. And this isn't really logic that should live in the controller. And I say it probably shouldn't live in the controller because there may be other places where you want to be able to create an artist. This is a super simple app. The only way you can create an artist in this app is by clicking that little plus up there next to artists. But if it was a more complicated app, there might be multiple ways to create an artist. And we want to be able to put in this same sort of controlling thing however anyone is creating an artist. So where might be a better place to detect whether or not the name field is blank and prevent that from being saved? No? I'll give you a hint. So far we've looked at routers, models, views, controllers. Take away controllers. Out of routers, models, and views, which one would be the best place to put this stuff? Models. Yep. Remember, Rails likes fat models and skinny controllers, meaning you want to have as little code as possible in your controllers because they're already big enough. And also, it's pretty limited in what this stuff can do. I mean, this @artist only exists inside here. And so if you want to reuse a whole bunch of logic a whole bunch of times, it's not really a good way to do that. Whereas with models, it's great to put lots of stuff in models because then all of those methods will be available wherever you have an artist. So we're going to do a way to figure out a way to put this in the model. There are some other ways we could do this. Like we could, just because people always ask about it, we could do like JavaScript, like use JavaScript to detect whether the name field is blank or something. But again, that's only going to work on one particular view or wherever that JavaScript happens to be working. And JavaScript is totally not secure. Anyone could just go in and do inspect element and then just type stuff in and basically work around the JavaScript. So that's not going to do it. We've seen stuff like not null and everything in the database. But I personally don't really like writing SQL. Like this is, aside from like select star from artist, this is pretty much the only SQL I remember. And this doesn't even actually do anything. SQL is not a programming language. I'm a programmer, just like you guys. I'm not a database person. So I don't want to write SQL if I can help it. Also, writing SQL is just kind of dangerous. I mean, if you write raw SQL, then you are like directly changing the database. And that's a really good way to screw stuff up and to accidentally delete data. So if you can possibly help it, you don't ever want to write raw SQL into your Rails database. So instead, we're going to let Rails take care of all this stuff for us, which is going to put in some safeguards so that we don't have to worry about this stuff. So first I'm going to show you what this is going to look like. Then I'm going to send you on a scavenger hunt in the documentation to look up a couple other ways of doing this. One way of preventing users from submitting an artist with a blank name would be validates name presence true. And there we go. So what this means is, well, first off, this validates thing, This is an example of a validation. So all Rails models, all active record models, have validations. A validation is something that is run before anything is saved to the database. So before a artist is created or saved or updated, this validation is going to run. And it's going to check to make sure present's true. It's going to make sure that there is something present in the name field that's being updated. That's what this does. So it checks to make sure that the name field has something in it. It isn't just blank. There are many other validations, and that's what I'm going to be asking you guys to look up. So let me Slack out a direct link to a particular section of this page where that's at. There it is. Okay, so here there is a link to the Rails docs. You can totally look at that if you want. But you also may be able to figure out what these things do just by looking at them. I don't think that would be too bad. So what I'd like you to do for 15 minutes is look through these and write a little list or a little cheat sheet for yourself of what these different things do. At the end of that 15 minutes, I'm going to cold call on some of you guys to tell you what these things do, and we'll just go over it as a class, and then we'll continue on. Are there any questions about this? So there are some guiding questions on here, like what does each line do, so on and so forth. So just try to answer those questions, okay? We'll start the timer.